Adriana.
Good morning. Hi. Hi, Chris. Hi, Bree.
Hi.
So
How are you guys doing?
we're doing okay. We washed our hands. We're masked up.
Actually, I forgot mine in
Oh,
my
you better go
office.
get your mask. Yeah, I'll give you time. Go ahead.
Joe's
Yeah.
gonna go get it.
Okay. So Adriana, you had
Yes.
busted a story out yesterday. This was quite a story. Department of Corrections and COVID-19. Can you just give us a general update on everything that you reported on?
Yeah, of course. So I had spoken with, well, you guys actually spoke with Major Anton Uggan in the morning, and then I had reached out again after we received an anonymous statement from a family member of someone that is incarcerated. And, they had just mentioned that now that they can't do any visits, on-site visits, and, meeting with, no family members can go and see any of the detainees or any of the inmates right now. And so they can't receive any items from family members. And a lot of family members are hearing from the different inmates and detainees that they're not getting the necessary hygiene or cleaning solutions or any supplies that they need, especially during the time of a pandemic. And as we know, one of the DOC recruits recently did test positive for the virus. So now they are worrisome, as they have every right to be.
Right.
And so, just in speaking with Major, again, he had said that as of right now, the remaining 38 recruits that they are doing on the job, they were in the on the job training stage of their cycle. They are all self-quarantining at home, and as far as they did not have any contact with the one recruit who had tested positive.
I really got to qualify that, Adriana, because we all know how contagious this virus is. We all know that you can continue to spread it without having symptoms. And in speaking with a couple of the inmates, they know who the cadet is, and they say that he was, at the Dome, and so that's what I think is. While DOC is saying, everyone masked up, they gloved up, or whatever, we just know that with this insidious virus, it'll take any chance it can to go from one person to another.
Oh, of course, and gloves don't even just do it at the end of the day at this point. So, and this one recruit, he was in the Dome area, which it houses the different parole violators, court paroles, and local detainees. And I had asked Major Evans for I was wondering how many different inmates are in that area. Just wondering, there's 3 separate units, and each have about 30, close to 30, I'd say, nearly about 30 inmates within the different units in the Dome area. So that's quite a few, of course. That's close to 30, 60. I don't really know numbers, but close to 100, right? So different inmates and detainees, and then the inmates are worried, and they are reaching out to their family members, and we're having their family members reach out to us and provide us anonymous statements. And even so, imagine even an outbreak within the prison, it would spread. It would spread very, very fast. So I asked him about any mitigation efforts that are underway, and he had said as of right now they just have sent the recruits home to self-quarantine, and that the inmates and detainees, that no one has showed any symptoms yet, but they do have I did that on-site visit about a month ago, and they do have I think 2 GMH nurses there, and then if someone were to present symptoms, they do send them to the hospital, and they would have they would receive treatment. But he says as of right now there isn't anyone with symptoms, but we don't know what could come up in the next couple weeks.
Right. And so they're also saying that this isn't impacting the operations. Is that just something they're saying to, so if the inmates get wind of it, they're covered, or is it actually true?
He says that they're not. So, I don't know if it's true or not, but he says it isn't impacting the operations as of right now. And I do know early on that they did implement at DOC, on May 16th, because I had ran that first coverage asking what the security measures were in order to prevent
on March 16th. Yeah.
March. Oh yeah. So you said sorry. So in March, and they put a 30-day. They made it a 30-day lockdown. So it wasn't just while government of Guam said all government agencies are 2 weeks. That was the initial time frame. They said 30 days off the bat. So they've been going since about March 16th. So they're not going until the end of the month, but that could be extended at this point then.
I know you had interviewed Major again early on, a couple of weeks ago, when we first started looking into what preparations and mitigation efforts were underway at DOC to prepare for something like this to occur. And so, if you can take us back to that and just let me know, what were their plans and what were they doing?
So, yeah, so they did not, in order to secure anything like this to happen, they decided to not allow any visitation from any even legal visitations, as well as any family members or any friends, anyone coming in and out of the prison. They also said that anyone that, so like, because they still have court cases happening and there's still people being arrested, right? So they said that they have to go through the Haggatnia facilities prior, and that they're doing screening and testing, or not, I don't want to say testing because, they're not using a test kit, but they're checking them. They're screening them, pre-screening them, and checking to see if any inmates or detainees have any symptoms in line with the coronavirus. So, for fever and things along those lines, and then they would be transferred. However, if someone is, then they have an isolation area already designated in the facility for them.
All right. Let's move over. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, that was their initial. Those were their initial protocol they followed. But I'm sure now that they do have the one case, it's something I'll definitely have to follow up on and ask what further mitigation efforts are going to be taken in order to prevent an outbreak there.
Mm-hmm. Right. What about let's move over to the Department of Education, because the Guam Education Board had a meeting yesterday. What can you tell us about that?
Mm-hmm. So they did meet yesterday. It was a special meeting in order to they needed to pass the resolution that would suspend certain board policies that allow for the school year to legally be able to end early. So that means addressing graduation requirements, grading, and promotion. So I had, the meeting had just ended right before news time, and I was trying to, go over it really quickly. And in that, I was speaking with Guam Education Board, the Vice Chair, Mark Mendiola, and he said that the board fully supported Superintendent John Fernandez's decision to close down the schools, and they did unanimously pass the resolution that would suspend these certain board policies. The only thing that they're waiting on right now is the legislation that Vice Speaker Selena Nelson, who's the chair for the Committee on Education, she introduced about, I think it was last week. And this measure would allow them to also suspend the 75-hour service learning requirement that's for graduating seniors. So they essentially have to have these hours placed and put in, and then they can graduate, and it's 75 hours. So once that legislation moves further, then they plan to have the Guam Education Board will be meeting again in order to address that. So that's still a pending issue there, but otherwise they did pass the resolution, and schools are closed. And Mark Mendiola just had told me that they were very happy with the Department of Education employees and how they navigated through the process, and providing a solution to this pandemic. And even when there weren't any, when it came to the grading and the promotion and what was designated within the proposal, there were not any, no one went against it. So there weren't any objections to that.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Adriana. I really appreciate all your hard work.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys. I feel very proud to be part of this team right now. And everything that we're doing,
man, honest, I was just thinking last night, as I lay my purple aura down to sleep, that we've got a really kick-ass team, and we're just out here, and everybody stepped up, top to bottom, and you know what, it really is because we're inspired by what we see out there, and how everybody who's keeping this island up and running, who's fighting on the front lines of COVID-19. It's inspiring to see that, suck it up, Buttercup. A lot of people are sacrificing things, but they're out there and they're really excelling. I mean, it's one thing to go out there and do your job, but people are really stepping up on this. I want to shout out Inarahan Middle School, home of the Warriors. I got a soft spot. We were going to do the Chiefs Day this year, but unfortunately, a casualty of COVID But you follow them on Instagram, you just IMS. They're doing this little thing where they're making masks, and they had a little video of the librarian. So just little things like that from these doctors to these nurses who are responding, and of course all the public health team. I was thinking, Bree, a group of public health people maybe don't get enough congrats and thank yous. The surveillance team, these guys, they're going out and they're tracking and tracing, trace investigating a lot of these cases. So when we talk about COVID heroes, I think the governor hit it on the head at a press conference a couple of days ago. She said there's a lot of COVID heroes because everybody is just really stepping up.
I wanted to give a shout out to the University of Guam. They held a live stream telethon last night, and for 2 hours, right, Jace? It was just so...
It went even longer than that. I checked the stream length this morning, and it was almost 3. I think they started a little bit early, which is not a bad thing, and then they went a little bit late. But I wanted to ask this, and I wanted to ask it at the appropriate time, but did you guys actually see, our friends at UOG, they lined up, like this whole gallery, and UOG certainly has no shortage of talent. Did you guys see the musical performances that they had?
Not all of them, no.
They had, I believe it was the UOG, the Laddie Tones, because I think I saw Dr. Randall Johnson was in there.
Oh, yeah.
They did it over Zoom, and there were 18 people at the same time.
We've got to get that recorded.
And it was a cappella, and it was synchronized, it was syncopated and everything like that. It was amazing. And you saw, just the way they presented it. You saw the matrix or the grid of like everybody playing their parts. There was one girl who's, she had her puppy in her hand, and some guy was like,
so cool.
Some guy was like lying down on the couch and everything, but everybody was joining in unison and in song, and it was unbelievul.
Awesome.
Wow. Watch that.
Yeah.
Syncopated.
Wow.
Syncopated.
Thanks, Jace.
Thanks. $5 word right there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sync, wash your hands in the sink.
Still hear me?
Yeah,
We
I
can hear you.
Yeah, you're still there.
I was like, I think I'm still here, but no, I was just going to say if there's someone I wanted to shout out, which I was thinking as I'm about to do the ins and out recordings for Live Local Friday, right? And our Stay Home edition that's coming up, and I was like, the people I really want to shout out are a lot of the parents here. So you, Bree, and Chris, because I couldn't imagine having to, I'm not a mother, but having kids.
Hey, if you're going to shout out the parents, Adriana, you got to shout out the guardians, the Ninos, the Ninas.
Yeah, the guardians, everyone who has
the nanas.
Yes,
the tatas.
exactly. The grandparents too. Everyone else who has loved ones that they're watching over right now, because I couldn't imagine, not only trying to, fight for your own life, but then fight for others and protect them during this time. So, shout out to all the guardians, all the parents, all the grandparents, everyone watching over and trying to keep themselves and others healthy.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Adriana, and we're really looking forward to what you're tracking today with your reporting.
All right.
Okay.
Well, you guys have a good morning. I'll be listening in too.
Wash your hands.
All right. Bye.
Bye. There you go, Adriana Cortero.
And I got to give it up to her because she lives on Guam, but her family they live off